Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Sauce. I already uploaded the Browns-Texans video. That game's first, so if you haven't watched that, go check that one out. I apologize again for my voice. I don't know if it's allergies. I don't feel sick. I'm not sick. For some reason, I just can't talk right now. But we got NFL playoffs. Can't take days off right now. We got Dolphins on the road in Arrowhead. Chiefs are now laying 4.5 points at home, and the total sitting at 44.5. Let's do it.
Welcome to The Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
Data showing the action coming in pretty split on this one. The number was down at 3.5 early in the week. It's been moved up to 4.5 for a couple days now. I do see a 5 open, but for the most part, we're looking at 4.5s across the board. Let's talk injuries. Miami's offense, couple huge question marks here. Mostert and Jalen Waddle, both these guys have been banged up for a couple weeks now. Some good news, both have been practicing all week, so I think there's a good chance both these guys end up playing. Miami's defense, unfortunately, is an absolute mess. Xavier Howard already ruled out at corner. Both safeties are listed as questionable, and neither of them have practiced all week. So I think there's a good chance both of these guys sit this game out. And it doesn't get any better on the defensive front either. Both the Dolphins starting edge rushers are out. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. And their third edge rusher, Van Ginkel, he's out as well. He just got hurt in the Bills game last week. So the Dolphins are going to have their 4th and 5th edge rusher starting in this game. And Jerome Baker is also out. They're starting inside linebacker. He got hurt last week in the Bills game as well. So Miami's defense, just if you're a Miami's Dolphins fan, I feel for you, man. Just bad timing with these injuries. Kansas City's in the almost exact opposite position. Offensively, the Chiefs are completely healthy. In fact, we've got some good news. It looks like Kadarius Toney is going to be back on the field. He hasn't played since mid-December. He's been practicing all week, so I think the Chiefs are going to have Toney back. And on the defensive side of the ball, the Chiefs are completely ready to roll. Nick Bolton's back after missing a big chunk this season. Snead's healthy at corner. Kansas City entering the playoffs with 22 healthy starters. Well, if Kadarius Toney starts, 22 healthy starters here. So before I get into the numbers on this one, we have to talk about the weather because this is just crazy. It's supposed to be 12 degrees below zero at Arrowhead for this game. Remember, this is a night game. 12 below. And some of these trends are a bit alarming here. Since 2017, the Miami Dolphins are 0-11 playing in games with when the temperature is below 40 degrees, 1-17 when the temperature is below 49. This is 12 below zero, and the Dolphins struggle when it's under 40. Meanwhile, on the Chiefs side with Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs with Mahomes at quarterback are 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread in games when the temperature is less than 18 degrees, and they're 11-1, 10-2 against the spread at home when the temperature is 35 degrees or less. So right off the bat, before we take a look at a single number, we're already leaning Kansas City pretty heavy here. So let's match these two teams up on the field. No question, Tua Tagovailoa is coming into this game with no momentum at all. In the last 2 games for Tua, just 205 yards per game, 6.3 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 4 picks, and a 68 passer rating. Now, let's give some props to the Bills and Ravens. Tua did see 2 elite defenses to finish the season, but Kansas City's got a great defense against the pass. Also, to be fair to Miami, they were missing both Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert in those 2 games, and it looks like I said earlier, both those guys are going to end up playing here. Heading into Week 17, Miami had some of the most impressive passing numbers in the NFL. Heading into Week 17, they were 3rd in EPA per play, 3rd in EPA per dropback, but look at the last 2 weeks, they dropped back to 22nd in EPA per play, 21st in EPA per dropback. And like I said, they're matched up against a Kansas City defense that's been great against the pass all year. This is the strength of this defense. On the season, they're 5th in passing DVOA, 8th in opponent passer rating, and 3rd in yards per pass attempt allowed. This is the same Chiefs defense that played Tua really well overseas in, I think that was Germany. Yeah, that was the Germany game. In that game, Tua against the Chiefs, just 193 yards, 5.7 yards per attempt is not good, 1 touchdown, no picks, and an 87 passer rating. Now, there are some positive angles for Tua here. As we know, the Chiefs run a lot of man coverage, and Tua has shredded man coverage this season. If you look at his splits here, a 126 passer rating against man, over 10 yards per pass attempt against man. Against zone, those numbers slightly worse. But as nice as those splits look for Tua, you also have to pull up his home away splits because he hasn't been good away from Miami. At home this season, he's got a 107.6 passer rating, 70 touchdowns, 6 picks. On the road, it drops to a 93.9, 12 touchdowns, 8 picks. And this Kansas City defense is built to give Tua problems because this is a defense that's centered around the pass rush, same as it was last year. Kansas City's pass rush on the season, 6th in pressure rate, 10th in QB hit rate, and 1st in adjusted sack rate. And as you already know, because we've talked about it 1,000 times on this channel, Tua's splits when pressured are pretty significant. Tua, when given a clean pocket, is elite. 4th in yards per attempt, 3rd in completion percentage, 3rd in passer rating, but when pressured, 27th, 39th, and 34th. So pressure is how you throw Tua Tagovailoa off his game. Now, if you're looking for positive talking points for this Miami offense, you got to look at the run game. That's the key to moving the ball in this Chiefs defense. That's what it's been like all year. And Miami's got great rushing numbers on the season. They're 3rd in DVOA, 1st in yards per carry, 4th in adjusted line yards. And I mentioned how Tua and the Dolphins passing attack was struggling the last 2 weeks. You can't say the same for the run game because even without Mostert, Miami was still averaging 5.82 yards per carry and 131 yards per game in those last 2. In that game in Germany against the Chiefs where the Dolphins got beat, they were running the ball in Kansas City. 21 carries, 117 yards. It's 5.6 yards per carry. The problem in that game is they were down 21-0 at halftime, so Miami pretty much had no choice but to just abandon the run. I think it's safe to say we can expect a heavy dose of the run game from Miami here. I mean, look at Kansas City's numbers against the run this season. 25th in adjusted line yards, 27th in DVOA, 24th in yards per carry allowed. We do have to give the Chiefs defense a little bit of credit. They've stepped up a bit as of late. Just 107.8 rushing yards per game allowed and 4.02 yards per carry allowed in their last 4 games. So they've done a little bit better job against the run recently, but in that span, here are the rushing DVOA ranks for the teams they saw. 32nd, 21st, 19th, 24th. So yeah, the Chiefs have done a decent job against the run in the last 4 games, but they haven't seen a serious rushing threat. Situational stats on this side of the ball, no real edge here. I guess a slight edge to Miami, 7th on 3rd downs and 2nd in the red zone, but Chiefs defense is top 10 in both. On the other side of the ball, we'll start with the Dolphins pass defense, and as we've brought up on this channel several times, Miami had great numbers against the pass in the 7 games after Jalen Ramsey took the field. During that span, they were 1st in EPA per play, 2nd in success rate per dropback, 1st in EPA per dropback. I mean, they were looking like the best pass defense in the NFL. A huge improvement in comparison to the 7 games they played before Ramsey took the field. They were 23rd, 27th, 18th, and 28th in the same categories. But the thing is, during that span, when the Dolphins were putting up those great numbers against the pass, they didn't really see any great quarterbacks, really no passing threats. And then the last 3 weeks of the season, Dolphins started seeing some top-tier passing attacks. Look what happened when they finished the season against the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills. Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. In that span, dead last in EPA per play, dead last in EPA per dropback. So yeah, they were putting up elite numbers with Ramsey for 7 straight weeks when they were seeing weaker quarterbacks. But then when they saw great quarterbacks, they got absolutely lit up and were looking like one of the most vulnerable defenses in the NFL. Those 3 quarterbacks combined for 10 touchdowns, 2 picks, a 123 average passer rating, over 10 yards per attempt. I mean, they pretty much did whatever they wanted on Miami's defense. And this is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. Obviously, he belongs right in the conversation with Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. He's about as elite as it gets when it comes to quarterbacks. That being said, in Mahomes' last 5 starts, he hasn't quite looked like himself. Amongst 41 qualified quarterbacks, he's 18th in EPA per play, 13th in success rate per dropback, so nothing crazy here. Chiefs passing offense on the season is 8th in DVOA, indicating that they've seen some tough defenses, but just 17th in passer rating, 20th in yards per pass attempt. And surprisingly, Patrick Mahomes really has struggled with pressure this year, and that the reason I said surprisingly is he's done such a good job with it in years past. This year, when pressured, Mahomes is 22nd in completion percentage, 18th in yards per attempt, 40th in interceptions amongst 41, and 32nd in passer rating. And if you look at the Miami pass rush numbers on the season, this defense looks like it could be a nightmare for Mahomes. 5th in adjusted sack rate, 2nd in pressure rate, 1st in QB hit rate. Here's the problem, as I mentioned before, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edge rushers on the depth chart for the Miami Dolphins are injured for this one. So can we really count on the Dolphins pass rush to be there without those 3 guys? And things only get worse for the Miami defense when you look at their home away splits. At home, the Dolphins are 10th in opponent passer rating, 14th in completion percentage, tied for 1st in takeaways per game, and 7th in points per game allowed. On the road, 31st, 31st, 20th, 30th. And Patrick Mahomes did a pretty solid job against this Dolphins defense overseas in Germany earlier this year. Completed 66.7% of his passes. 6.2 yards per attempt isn't great, but 2 touchdowns, no picks, a 105.6 passer rating. It was a solid game for Mahomes, and that was when the Dolphins had all of their pass rushers healthy. Now let's talk about the run game. Are the Chiefs going to be able to run the ball in this Miami defense? Kind of tough one to call. Miami's surface level numbers against the run look great this year. 6th in yards per carry, 11th in adjusted line yards, all the way back at 16th in DVOA, indicating they've had a bit of an easy schedule as far as the rushing attacks they saw. But again, we got to go back to the home away splits. That's the story with this Dolphins defense. Check this out. Miami's run defense at home, 1st in yards per carry allowed, 1st in rushing yards per game allowed, 1st in rushing touchdowns per game allowed. On the road, 15th, 15th, 30th. Now, the good news for Miami is the Chiefs' rushing offense is nothing to write home about. They actually have decent looking numbers on the season. 16th in DVOA, 13th in yards per carry, 19th in adjusted line yards. But the thing is, the Chiefs' run game has been such a roller coaster this year. They started off the season so hot. Through weeks 1 through 4, it was looking like Pacheco was going to be a Pro Bowler. But then look at weeks 5 through 12. They really fell off here, averaging just 3.8 yards per carry as a team, 26th in EPA per rush, 29th in success rate per rush. Now, it looks like they've taken a small step forward in weeks 13 through 18, so the last 6 games of the year. They're back up over 100 rushing yards per game, 4.4 yards per carry, 18th in EPA, 21st in success rate, so a little bit better, but this is still not a run game that you can count on. Situational stats on this side of the ball, edge definitely goes to Kansas City's offense. They're 6th on third down, 17th in the red zone. Miami's defense has been terrible in key spots, 20th and 28th. Got an underdog pick'em for this one. It's a 3-pick, so it pays out 6 times. Jason Sanders lower than 2 extra points, just a fade of the Dolphins' offense ability to get it into the end zone. Isaiah Pacheco higher than 16 rushing attempts, and Watson higher than 21.5 receiving yards. That comes from Prop Beaver. He thinks Watson's gonna make a big play in this one. So that's a 3-pick, pays out 6 times. If you don't have an Underdog fantasy account, it's available in any state highlighted on this map. So if you're in one of the states highlighted in yellow, you can head over to the website Underdog Fantasy or download the app. When you make your account, make sure you use the promo code BET. BET. That'll get you a $100 deposit bonus match. So if you deposit $100, they will give you a free $100 to play with. As far as when I'm betting in this game, under. I'm taking the under at 43.5. So let's get that up on the screen first. Definitely taking the under here. As far as picking a side, I am on the Chiefs, even at 4.5. I wish I bought in at 3.5. I didn't. I'll still take the Chiefs at 4.5. I kind of hate it because I honestly hate when weather is looming, where we don't really know what we're going to get. But I mean, those weather trends are pretty clear that you have to bet the Chiefs, but I feel like everybody's thinking that same thing, which scares me a little bit. Also, if this turns into a battle of run games, Miami's got the better run game, so that kind of favors them. But overall, Kansas City's just in such a better place right now. I mean, they're completely healthy on both sides of the ball, had a week off to rest. This Dolphins team just lost a heartbreaker to the Bills. It was the biggest game of the year, and they lost. They're so injured, limping into this game in the ice cold, where a lot of them are going to be uncomfortable. It just feels like such a good spot for the Chiefs. So even though I hate the number, even though it's probably my least favorite side of all 6 games this weekend, I'm on Kansas City minus 4.5, and give me the under at 43.5. If you want my top bets for all sports, parlays of the day, or you want to join our Discord, head over to KyleKirms.com. The information's right there on the homepage. NFL playoffs, we got 6 games, should be a great one. Remember to bet responsibly, and I think I'm going to do a surprise live show. We're going to do like touchdown score polls, stuff like that. Just some fun stuff. It'll kind of be spur of the moment. I'll tweet it out. I'll post it when I know when I'm going to do it. But yeah, remember to bet responsibly this weekend, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.